So, greetings.
Greetings.
My name is Shamara Wiley Al-Hassan, and I'll be presenting a little bit from my book that I've been working on. I feel like Rasas and Mamolete have published like 5 or 6 books in the time that I've been working on this one book, but that's all right. Soon go forward. And so, as Mamolete mentioned, my parents are from the Caribbean. My mother's from Jamaica, my father's from Trinidad and Tobago. And they raised my brothers and I have 2 older brothers in a place called Eureka, California, which is rural Northern California, as I just mentioned, an hour from the Oregon border. And they raised us Rastafari in the midst of an all-white space, white rural space.
Yeah.
So it was a very challenging space to grow up in, and very challenging for them to raise us in that environment. But that's why I started this project. And so I want to say that from the outset that this project is really for you all. It's for Sistren. It's for my mother. That's why I started the project, because, you know, my mother she has always been a firecracker. She's serious business, 5 foot nothing, but she, you know, and my father he was a bodybuilder, and he's like 6'3". But my mother was the one that you had to be afraid of when I was growing up. And so when I went to school, I was like, oh, I want to, learn more about Rastafari, because we're the only Rastafari family, so I know from the teachings that my parents had, and from, watching, documentaries and music videos and stuff that we had from the Caribbean. But we didn't really have a whole lot of other Rastafari people that we were around.
Yes.
So when I went to school, I went to undergraduate at Sarah Lawrence College, and I was able to study abroad in Jamaica. And I went to try to find other women who were like my mother, because when I was reading a lot of the histories of the Rastafari movement, I noticed that they were saying that women were always in the background and, sit in a corner, and they weren't really around.
They're like, where?
And I was like, that's not my mother. I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know that side of Sistren. And so I went to Jamaica in 2006.
Turn it a little bit. That's angle so she can get a pan in on it.
That was the first time I went to Jamaica, and I was able to meet a whole slew of sistren that were like my mother. Yeah. One of the first sistren I met was actually Dr. Tafara Alma, who was my mentor at that time.
She's like your mother.
My mentor up until today. Really heavy influence on my scholarship, and one of the original sistren to really do this work, thinking about Rastafari women and their contributions to the community. And I met so many different sistren at that time that I did a project, Mothers and Daughters in Rastafari, at that time. And then I went forward to Ghana. And I did another project trying to think about Rastafari in Ghana. People told me I wasn't going to find any Rastafari people in Ghana, which was, of course, a lie. And I found a whole community of sistren and brethren who also became my extended family and my mentors in this work. And so the work that I'm going to show you today is really a culmination from 2006, 2009, but most of these interviews are taken from 2014 and 2017 field work that was done in Jamaica, Ghana, and then Ethiopia. And so there were some questions around sistren in the early years, so I just wanted to talk briefly to that, and then I want to play film. So what I basically do is I do ethnography, where I go out and I interview people, sometimes in group settings, sometimes one-on-one, and then I write about what they talk about and I theorize. I use their ideas to theorize what the overall meaning of what Rastafari women's contributions are, which is why in the title of the book you'll see intellectual activism, because I'm talking about the ideas that are shaping Rastafari women's community. And so this is just a map of, we all know where Jamaica is and Ghana and Ethiopia on the continent. But I want to talk about this book briefly because Dave Dunkley published this book in 2021. It's the first book-length history that we have of Rastafari women. In 1998, in Chanting Babylon Reader, oh my goodness, Maureen Rowe wrote an early article around Rastafari women's history. This is the first book, and this is where I was talking about. In this book, he talks about Sistren working and being forceful contributors of the movement from at least 1933.
You mentioned a good part. I have it.
1933. He also goes, each chapter, or well, most of the chapters in the book are dedicated to different sistren,